Why don't we take the board of pardon and parole? Why don't we take 3 members can come up first, and then we'll take the other 2 members. Let's take Curtis Fearman and Stephen Prater and Cheryl. Let's get all Renazzi. Let's get all 3 up first. Ms. Renazzi. We got to take the first 3. We're doing a pardon, board of pardon and parole.
This is the
I'm sorry.
pair of 3s. Okay. First 3, I'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Yes.
Good morning and welcome to the committee. And you all can start with an opening statement.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman.
Good morning.
Committee members. My name is Cheryl Renatz. I'm currently serving as chairman of the Board of Pardons and the Committee on Parole. I'll just give you a little bit about my background and then defer to my colleagues. I have been serving in this capacity since 2012, so this is my 14th year, which I think helps me bring a little expertise to the board and the newly appointed members. My background is in corrections. I retired from the Department of Corrections after over 30 years of service. I spent a majority of my career serving as deputy warden at Louisiana State Penitentiary. When I retired, I was serving as deputy secretary of the department. I think that experience gives me some expertise and makes me qualified for the position that I currently served in. It's been quite an honor and a privilege to serve in this capacity. It's one of the most difficult jobs I've ever had, I'll say that. And we've done some pretty exciting things, I think, to bring some integrity to the work that we do. Over a year's time, we have over 15,000 case decisions that we will make, and we made in fiscal year 23. 13,000 of those are parole violations for folks who are already out on parole or good time supervision. So on an average month, our case decisions are about over 1,200. So with that, that's just a quick overview of what we do. I'll defer to my colleagues to introduce themselves. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Curtis Freeman. Everybody calls me Pete. I worked for the Department of Corrections for 35 years. I retired as the Director of Probation and Parole for my last 5 years. I think this gives me a lot of insight into this board, having worked with many of the staff and people that are coming up before us. And I just thank y'all for the opportunity. I served 2 years of the last term when someone retired, and I was lucky enough that Governor Landry chose me again. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I'm Steve Prater. My background, very briefly, 17 years on the Shreveport Police Department before I was appointed Chief of Police in Shreveport for 9 years. Then I retired from there, ran for sheriff, was sheriff of Caddo Parish for 24 years, chose not to run and got appointed to this board, and really enjoying the brief stint that I've had on it so much. It's very important, and I've come to appreciate very much the work of probation and parole officers throughout the state in what that they do, and I would very much appreciate my confirmation.
All right. Just 2 quick questions. Ms. Renatza, first, have you spoken with your state senator?
I have, yes.
And is there anything on this question there that you may have omitted that
No,
you
sir.
wish to share with the committee in public or private?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Freeman, have you spoken with your state senator?
Yes, sir. I'm honored to have him on this committee, Senator Clyde.
All right. Is there anything on your questionnaire that you may have omitted that you wish to share with the committee, either in public or private? And Mr. Prater.
Yes, sir. I've spoken to my senator, Senator Jenkins, and there's nothing on there that I've omitted or falsely put.
All right. We're going to first start with questions from Senator Jenkins.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me say to each of you, congratulations on your nominations.
that workload sounds pretty significant, and I know a lot of time and effort has to go into this process, and I know it's some very difficult decision making having to be made. Just looking at your background information, I think everybody is very well equipped and educated, in the area, and I think that is a plus for our state. I'm very happy to see my sheriff, my former sheriff, Steve Prater, among those who are being nominated. Someone who's had a pretty good background in law enforcement. I just have a few general questions because this is a very important role that you all play. It comes post-conviction, so we're no longer looking necessarily now at convicting someone of guilt or innocence. So I just want to maybe hear from each of you as it relates to what you are listening for at the stage that a person may be coming before you, keeping in mind that there are victims involved in this. I'm certainly not ignoring that. But I would just like to get some idea from your perspective when that inmate or whoever is brought before you, what exactly would you be listening for as far as trying to make a determination if this is someone that should reenter into our society?
Okay, Senator, if you don't mind, I'll go first. For me, and these are very independent decisions, but we do have some guidelines as to what we look for. Of course, we look at the nature and circumstances of the crime. We do consider victim input. We go to great lengths to reach out to victims and get their input. And I must say that of late, we have had a lot more victim participation, and I'm really pleased about that. We also look at, of course, public safety is our major concern. We look at their institutional adjustment, what they've done since they've been in prison. We look at programs they may have taken to rehabilitate themselves, what's their educational level. We look at, health and mental health status. The institutional conduct record is very important. And we also look at community service they may have done since they've been in prison. That's pretty important. We also have a risk assessment tool that we use that tells us their risks to reoffend as well as what needs they may have. And we can use that tool kind of as a prescriptive bundle, if you will, to add special conditions. Should they be, released early, add that for special conditions that they must comply with in addition to their regular conditions of parole supervision.
That's very helpful, and I'm glad to hear that. And Sheriff Prater, having a background that you have in law enforcement, and I hear that the chair lady is saying, these are independent, decisions that need to be made. Can you just maybe tell the committee a little bit about, I guess, your view on the independence of each decision and not just painting everybody with the same brush, so to speak, and making an assessment on an individual basis?
Yes, sir. When originally appointed, there were a few people that might have, in fact, they did to me, and they called me the no button. And that was such a misnomer, because since I've been there, I've made quite a few decisions, and some have been to deny, and some have been to grant. And what I look for are not only the things Ms. Renatza mentioned, but I also look for the propensity to reoffend in particular crimes. That's important to me, and where my experience comes from. For instance, a young 17-year-old that is in the middle of a dope transaction and shoots somebody is a lot different than maybe somebody that has killed somebody 4 or 5 different victims over a course of a length of time. And so the propensity to reoffend is in the type of crime and the individual are the two things that I look for also, in addition to those, of course.
Okay. And Mr. Freeman, is that okay? All right. Can you just share with the committee your view if a sentence carry a possibility, for parole? Do you feel as though that individual deserves a hearing?
Oh, I absolutely feel he deserves a hearing. I'm not absolutely saying he needs to be granted, though.
I understand.
I mean, we need to see what he done in prison, to rehabilitate itself. And his supervision record. I look at his supervision record, as the sheriff was saying, you know, and the big thing I look at is that I know from being in corrections that a lot of people have to be housed in parish jails. So you'll see these guys with 2 or 3 year sentences, but they've never been to what I call big boy jail, to where they can get the services they need and they can find out what prison life's about. So they get their retribution to the victim, and they also get to better themselves.
And for any of you that may be willing to answer this question, as far as reentry itself, and I don't know how much involved the board is with this, but when someone is coming out, we certainly don't want to see them going back into an environment that sent them there in the first place. So as far as reentry is concerned, to what extent does the board play in maybe referring individuals to reentry services such as, you know, housing, employment, things of that nature? I mean, that's a question for any of you to answer.
Well, we do require that the Division of Probation and Parole approve their residence plan. So we do also encourage folks who need a change of scenery, perhaps not to go back to the same place where they came from that caused them to get in the situation they were in. So we partner with services throughout the state to help us find a suitable housing. Transition specialists are located throughout the state. Those are paid for by DOC to help us find the appropriate services, and that's where we add special conditions. You know, we can require them to take advantage of those services, and if they don't, well, we can bring them back.
I understand. Well, look, congratulations to all of you again for your nominations. Sheriff Prater, congratulations to you on your nomination. And, you know, I've worked with you over the years, and your father was someone that I knew and was very helpful to me in the beginnings of my political career. And I want to thank you also for the support you've shown me over the years.
Yes.
So I do believe that we have established a relationship where I feel confident in saying that I think you're a fair-minded individual who wants to do the right thing. And for all of you, I know it's not an easy task. It's a balance that has to take place. So congratulations once again. We look forward to seeing you a little bit later down the road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Senator. Senator Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff Prater, you made the news not too long ago, back in 2017, when you made some remarks regarding good prisoners, bad prisoners. Do you recall those remarks?
I sure do, yes, sir. They've been played over and over and over, and they were taken out of context completely, yes, sir.
I listened to the press conference. I don't think I took it out of context. I believe you said they're releasing some good ones that we use every day to wash cars, to change oil in our cars, to cook in the kitchen, to all that, where we save money. Was that taken out of context?
Yes, sir, it was.
How so?
Well, it was referring to the good ones, meaning the good-behaved prisoners, the ones that have been there. All of those prisoners, it sounds like that they are being used for jobs and we're taking advantage of them. They were sentenced by a judge to hard labor, and therefore they were washing cars because they volunteered in our particular correctional center. They volunteered to go do that just because they wanted to get out and do that. The good ones referred to, the part I'm talking about was out of context, referred to the good behavior, those that were behaving good in addition to the ones that were not. So that's the part that was taken out of context. And I'm glad you asked that, because every time I can get a microphone and somebody will ask that question, I'm able to tell them I was not saying that's a good person or a bad person. I'm saying that was a good prisoner versus a bad prisoner. This is those that possibly shot somebody, killed somebody, but they were all sentenced to hard labor.
Well, I guess the concern is there are many of us who share the concern that the prison industrial complex is taking advantage of certain prisoners, that they're making a profit off of them, that they're having them wash their cars, change their oil, cook in their kitchens where they can save money. There's been reports of prisoners being contracted with employers where they're making minimum wage, but yet the employers, the prisoners are only making pennies on the dollar, and there's a great benefit to the criminal justice system. So what do you say to address those concerns about people who think that you look at these prisoners as a profit source?
Well, they could look at the Kettle Parish Sheriff's Office, where some 6 or 7 years ago, I stopped the work release program that was started there.
What year did you do that?
About 6 or 7 years ago.
I don't know what year it is. There's a 2020 to 2022.
I don't know the exact, but it's been for some time over.
Before or after your 2017 statement?
It was after that. It's been after that, yes, sir. It was after that. We had a work release center, as do many local jails, and they're very profitable, and many people say that they're very good for the prisoners, and the prisoners leave with money. So, it all depends on how you want to paint the picture. You could paint it as giving them a chance to pay child support, to come out with a paycheck, to have learned a skill, to go to work somewhere.
Or you can look at it from the lens that it's profiteering.
Yes, sir.
That's my concerns. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
All right, thank you, Senator. Senator Klein-Peter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for wanting to do this. I wanted to reach out to Mr. Pete. Thank you for reaching out. A year and a half ago, you were adamant about wanting to stay on this board. So it's hard to find good people that want to be on this board. And Kim Daigle, she spoke very highly of you. So we have to listen to her too. So thank you all for wanting to do this.
Appreciate it, Senator.
All right, Senator, you've concluded. Senator Miguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Prater.
Yes, sir.
Being a sheriff as long as you've been up there in North Louisiana, is it safe to say you've seen a lot of bad folks in your time, a lot of criminals?
Yes, sir. Between that and police department, over 51 years of a major police agencies, yes, sir.
When you sit on the Pardon and Parole Board and you have to make these challenging decisions, I guess it'll go for all of y'all, do you think about what your number one goal is, public safety?
Public safety is the number one goal, is to make sure that these folks aren't allowed out if we feel like they're going to reoffend and do something. But keep in mind also, and I'm not saying this for the committee's edification, I'm saying it from just so everyone knows that there are people that are incarcerated that deserve a second chance. Thank goodness I've had a second chance in many things that I've done, and a third chance. But so you have to balance. Are they going to hurt somebody else? Have they done enough to atone for the crime, and do they deserve a second offense? So it's one of these things, and it would surprise people, but many sheriffs, many chiefs of police, many police officers are a lot more inclined to give the second chance than people would think. And so that's where I find myself, is these are very difficult decisions. And I have to go to sleep at night, and I have a creator, and I believe that Jesus Christ died for my sins and holds me accountable for the decisions that I make on this earth. And there are people that I have to balance. What should I do? And so that's where I find myself. They're very difficult decisions, much more difficult. And I was critical of the Department of Corrections before I've gotten to know them like I have. They run a good outfit, and I'm proud to be part of them. And with your blessings, I will continue to be.
There's been a lot of discussion on the committee thus far about the offenders, but I have to ask each one of y'all, do y'all think about the victims, and do they cross your mind when you make these decisions?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes,
We several years ago, we created the Louisiana Victim Outreach Program, which I'm really proud of. And that in itself has encouraged victims to participate. We provide or refer to counseling service and try to help prepare them for what's going to happen during a hearing. And that could be, and they do participate. We go to great lengths to locate victims, to prepare them for the hearing. They can participate in a number of ways now, where they used to had to go to the DA's office and participate from that office. Now they can write us a letter, they can appear in person, they can appear by Zoom, and take advantage of the referral. So in every case where there's a victim involved, yes, sir, we do.
And the next question, being you've sort of answered already, Mr. Prater, is the potential future victims. If there's just a shred in your gut that says that an individual is going to go out and repeat offender or hurt somebody and conduct a violent act on a new victim? How does that weigh? I mean, if there's just a shred, do you let them out?
It's an individual decision, and every case is different, actually. I will say this, and this is not really common knowledge, I don't think, that parole is discretionary. Of course, the good time release is the mandatory release date. And the Department of Corrections tracks recidivism. And for the general population, those who get out on good time, I think the recidivism rate is about 40-something%. The parole releases is 22%. So there's a big difference, and I think that has to do with what we do, the due diligence we do in our decision-making, but also using the tools that we have in terms of special conditions to help someone succeed. And we tell them all the time, it's not about getting out of jail, because they all want to get out of jail. It's about staying out of jail.
And I appreciate all the conversation with this committee and all their work in trying to make sure these offenders can transition back into society and be productive members again. But I just want to make sure everybody understands, not just you guys, but folks back home, that the number one goal is public safety, and the victims come first.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, Senator. The board is clear. I want to thank the three of you for coming before the committee. We will be in touch before the session concludes. We have two other members from the Pardon and Parole Board, Mr. Chucky Tillis and Ms. Carolyn Renee Stapleton. Y'all come forward and be sworn in. Will y'all please be sworn in first? If you stand and...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, welcome to the committee. Each of you can give an opening statement.
Oh, great. Okay, my name is Carolyn Renee Stapleton. My opening statement is that I'm retired law enforcement from East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office. I retired as a sergeant and the director of crime victim services there. I also served under two previous governors for the 6th Congressional District on the Crime Victims Reparations Board. Governor Jindal appointed me and Governor Edwards appointed me. And several of the laws that we have in the books today are laws that I help write. So this is new to me, this side of it. This is full circle, because being law enforcement, I started out from the crime. I was able to go to the crime scene. I went to the hospitals. I went with the families. I went to the funerals. And I went to court with them. So now I'm seeing the back end of it. So yes, the voices of crime victims are always in my head, along with trying to make a good decision for those that have intend to change their life and have worked towards changing their lives. I'm very prayerful about every decision I make, and I guess that describes me.
Mr. Tillis?
My name is Chuck Tillis, finished from Southern University. I'm a contractor, been a contractor for about 45 years, retired.
All right. Question for each of you. Have each of you, starting with you, Mr. Tillis, have you, well, obviously you have, I know you've spoken to your state senator. Have you spoken to your state senator?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Is there anything that either of you may have omitted on your questionnaire that you would like to share with the committee, either in public or private?
Not me.
No.
Okay. All right. Questions from members of the panel? All right. If there are no questions, I want to thank the two of you all for coming, and we'll be in touch with you before the end of session.
Okay, thank you very much.
We're going to go back to the Committee on Parole. We're going to get Daniel Boras and Jerry Ledoux. Please stand and be sworn in, please. Please stand up and be sworn in.
Just what do, can I swear you? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you.
I cannot lie.
All right. Each of you could start with an opening statement.
Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Jerry Ledoux, and I reside in DeRidder in Senator Reese's district. In 2011, I began serving on the Committee on Parole under a previous administration, and at this point, the governor has reappointed me to that position. Many things have changed since I was on the committee previously. We have a very robust training opportunity. I do have my master's in communication, and during the time that I was serving on the Committee on Parole, I did my thesis work on medical parole, and so delved into that.
Thank you. You may start with an opening statement, sir.
My name's Danny Barra, and I started out my career in 1985 with being a probation and parole officer. I worked my way through the ranks in probation and parole up to a supervisor, where I supervised 8 people who were supervising offenders on the street. I retired from probation and parole in 2018 after doing 32 years, and I was immediately rehired back specifically to do investigations for the department. Those investigations being probation and parole investigations for this committee that I'm applying to be on now, and pardon investigations, clemency investigations for the governor, and also a few pre-sentence investigations for the local judges. I did that from my retirement in June of 2018 until present, well, a couple of months ago, when I received an appointment to the Committee on Parole. So now, instead of writing the investigations, I'm reviewing those that others write. But my experiences through all those years with Department of Corrections, Probation and Parole, I've seen it all. I've talked to the victims. I've talked to the parents of the offenders. I've worked with parents. I've worked with offenders. I've worked with victims. I've worked with the judges, the DAs, and I feel that all those years in those positions helped me to understand everything there is to know about the people who are going to be coming before me on the board, and I feel that that qualifies me.
All right. So let's start with you, Mr. Barros. Have you spoken with your state senator?
My senator is Mr. Miguez. I speak with him a lot.
All right. And Ms. Ledoux, have you spoken to your state senator?
Yes, I have.
All right. Is there anything either of you may have omitted on your questionnaire that you wish to share with the committee, either in public or private?
No, sir.
All right. Members, any questions from members of the panel? Seeing no questions, I want to thank each of you for coming. We'll be in touch by the end of the session.
Thank you.